What's up, guys? I wasn't actually planning on doing any videos today, mainly because I did one yesterday. But today I heard a couple of big news that were published on social media, and I noticed that not only among the people I know, but also among people in social media, that there was some type of an emotional turmoil that is going on. So I wanted to do this very quick video just as a friendly reminder about the things that we have talked about when it comes to thought frequencies, because now it's becoming more important than ever for us to pay attention to that so that we can prevent any issues for ourselves when it comes to our health or our situations or anything else for that matter moving forward. If you're new to this channel, basically here what we talk about is mainly brain frequencies, cellular frequencies. We focus more on the invisible neuroscience, invisible brain, which has to do with electromagnetic fields that cover us. And we do it because we want to challenge our mindset a little bit, challenge our thinking a little bit, so that we can, as a result, expand our mindset, expand our thought patterns, and as a result, expand our consciousness, which will then in turn hopefully bring more success to our lives, because we will be more solid when it comes to our mindset, but also when it comes to our neurological but also biological bodies, if you will. So let's go back to the reason why I wanted to do this very quick video. The amount of electrical impulses that we create, that we emanate through not only our neurons, which are the cells in the brain, but also our cells that are encompassing the whole body, it's amazing. We're talking like trillions and trillions of electrical impulses. All of that, as you already know because we've talked about it, create the electromagnetic field around us. When we go through traumatic events, when we are extremely challenged in terms of what our daily living, when we feel threatened, when we are being attacked, etc., these all create extra amount of electrical impulses, because the level of the thinking of the brain increases, because the brain at its core wants to save energy and space. So because of that, that's why it creates habits, because once it creates habits, it does not need to think that much. It means that it doesn't need to spend a lot of energy, so it can then spend energy on other things. But when we go through, for example, some bad news or trauma or a very changing situation, which we are going through right now, and I noticed a lot of that today, then the amount of these electrical impulses increases because the brain thinks more. It has to think more because the situation that it's presented with is brand new. So it needs to figure it out. It needs to understand it. It needs to come up with a strategy as to how react towards it. And if we are caught off guard with a news or being attacked and whatnot, then those amount of electrical activities increase even further. And that increases the level of brain frequencies. And in turn, it increases the level of energy that it creates. And it also increases the level of emotions that we feel. And the increased level of emotions, especially when they are negative, let's say in this case, we feel that suddenly all the some regulations and laws that we thought were moving forward suddenly got changed, and we feel attacked a little bit. Not physically at that point, but at least we feel that we need to do something, we need to react towards it, etc. And those type of emotions are also extremely draining when it comes to sucking in energy, because they need to create more. The brain creates then more neurotransmitters, which is additional type of chemicals that are being released into the body, some of which are great, some of which are not so great, depending on the situation. You can say serotonin at sometimes is great because it's your happy neurotransmitter, and maybe let's say dopamine is not so great because it just creates too much energy that you don't know what to do with, etc. But the point I'm trying to make here is that the increased level of thought activities creates the increased level of frequencies, which then also creates increased level of these chemicals in the body. And we are going through that even more now than ever. And from now until the end of this year, it's going to get even worse. So that is the reason I wanted to do a quick reminder with this video that if you are feeling very tired, if you're feeling very emotional, if you are feeling attacked in some way, this is the reason. And what I suggest and urge of you to do is to do some of the things that we've already talked about, but I wanted to do this quick video so that we can review over it. Whether we want it or not, we are going to get bombarded with news, and a lot of dramatic political news from now until the remaining of the year, at least more than what we are used to. A lot of these news used to not affect us, but in 2020 they are, not only at a financial level, but also at the health level, at the physical level. And so because of that, they will have more impact into our personal lives than they ever did before. So that's why with this video, I want to urge you to consider being mindful of your thought frequencies on a daily basis, much more than you're used to. And I want to also to urge you to consider to do as much as you can to keep your brain frequencies in balance and in check. We've already talked about different ways of doing it, but I'm just going to do this now because of this quick video as a reminder. One of the first things we can do is to identify even the smallest things in our daily lives that puts us in a good mood, good feeling. If you have a pet, for example, if you like washing dishes like I do, if you like bicycling, if you have a hobby, sketching, painting, cleaning, swimming, whatever the case may be, that makes you tick, do that as much as you can on a daily basis. Because if we don't, it's very easy for these frequencies to take over. Once they take over, we will gradually get into depression mode. Once we get into mild depression, we can go down the rabbit hole pretty quickly after that. So that's why I'm doing this video, and I really want to urge you to consider doing these things before you even let those frequencies take over, because they do. Another way to check on your frequencies is to control them through your visual, auditory, tactile systems that we've talked about. Through visual, every day, please, please, please make sure to watch something that you like, that makes you tick, that makes you feel happy. You know, if you have a good feeling movie or show or watching nature or whatever, that will also impact your frequencies, whether you don't even have to think about it. Just watch something that you really like and that makes you feel good, and that's enough. Because we see too many negative things on a daily basis now, and it's just getting worse. And that's why we need to take back control of our frequencies. We need to own up to them on a daily basis. Again, otherwise they will take over. Once they take over, it's still, we can get back but to our normal state, but it's going to get a little bit worse. It's going to need a little bit more work. Another way is auditory. If there is any music that you like or any podcast that you like that is just through your auditory system, do it on a daily basis, because that would also shift your frequencies. If you like the soundtracks that I create, go ahead and listen to them as well, because that will also do a check and balances with your frequencies, and you don't even have to think about it. You can just play it and it just does its job. So that's another way to take control of your frequencies. Another way is tactile, that we talked about. If you have a pet, to pet the animal. Or if you, for example, sometimes even touching something soft or something warm, it's also nice. But you can also use that to change your frequencies. And again, it's free, it doesn't cost anything, and you don't even have to think about it. But immediately it'll shift your frequencies. And if you do that on a daily basis, because the other side of it, of all these bad frequencies, we're already getting bombarded, so we need to sort of neutralize those bad frequencies with these good ones. So if you do that on a daily basis and make sure you're doing it, that would be fantastic. Another thing I wanted to share with you, which is very interesting, and this is the last thing I will share, and then we'll finish the video, and that has to do with your body being able to send to the brain. Many years, we psychologists thought that the communication between the brain and the body was one way. But then the psychology field is extremely big. If you start reading papers, it will never end. But it's a great one. So nonetheless, after the decades of research, we were able to show that the communication is actually twofold. So it's not only the brain sending signals to the body, but the body is also sending signals to the brain. So it's very interesting, because suddenly that communication becomes like a two-way street, which is amazing, which is a great news for us, because that means that we can also use our bodies to change the brain frequencies. So it's not only the brain that has the power over the body has a power over the brain as well. And one way to do that is to use some tricks and some body postures to trick the brain thinking that it is actually feeling good. And because of that, it will create those good, positive frequencies. And one of the best bodily cues that scientists discovered that will impact the brain, its frequencies, more specifically its neurotransmitters, is the act of smiling. Because there are a lot of muscles in our face. Each of these muscles, they're directly connected to the brain, and they do send signals to the brain. And this is extremely fascinating, by the way, but I won't go into it because we will go down the rabbit hole. But the the fascination of the act of smiling of a person, it's global. It's in wherever you go in the world, when a person smiles, you know that it means that they are happy. So it's innate in us. And again, we don't have time to go into depth about that, but at a very eagle eye view, that's basically already implanted in us, it's already programmed in us, which means that whenever the act of smiling is being done, the brain believes that we are happy. And this is the good news, because even though we are not happy, but just doing the act of smiling, we are sending, or these muscles are sending signals to the brain saying that, hey, I'm smiling. And then the brain thinks, okay, if I'm smiling, that means that I'm happy. And if I'm happy, that means that I need to produce more serotonin or other neurotransmitters that are happy. And then once it does that, it also will create those happy sets of brain frequencies, which then in turn impacts the electromagnetic field around us. So what I'm trying to say is that if you feel that you are going through those emotions, and there are a lot of different news that we're being hit with left and right, even more so now than ever, and it's just going to get worse, then what we can do is to use our bodies to send these signals to the brain so that it starts producing those happy neurotransmitters and happy frequencies, because then that will help us not get into that rabbit hole that I was talking about. So just the act of smiling helps, and I have tested it myself and it works, and it has a double amount of effect if we do it while looking at ourselves in a mirror. So you might think this is like crazy. Am I just gonna stand in front of the mirror and just smiling? Actually, it works. I have done it because, as I said, I went through some really tough times way back when, and when I came across these studies, I actually tested them on myself, and I noticed that it helps. If you feel funny and you don't want to do it, you don't have to do it. But what you will do when you look at yourself, or also at the same time maybe looking at other pictures that other people are smiling, that also sends the visual cue that, so it's not only your facial muscles that are sending the cues to the brain, it's also through your visual, your eyes, that it also sends messages to your brain that, we're happy because I'm smiling and everybody else is smiling. So that's one body posture. Another one that I'm sure you're more familiar with is, this sort of standing, like, I think they call it like Superman, posture or whatever, however you want to call it, but you know what I mean. Also having a body posture, for example, not bending over too much and just walking around like you have confidence. All those muscles also send signals to the brain saying that, hey, I am confident because it looks like I'm confident because I'm walking like this, or I'm carrying myself like this. And all these muscles, they also communicate to the brain. They're sending all these impulses to the brain saying that, we are in a good state of being. And because of that, then the brain reacts, and when the brain reacts, it changes the neurotransmitters. So these are just very quick tips and tricks, just so that you have it with you from now moving forward, because there will be a lot of stuff that are going to come out, more drama in politics, more drama in the world as it is, because of all the situations that we have in this world. And so it's good to be able to have these tips and tricks so that we don't go down the depression mode or being too emotional about it, because it's just not good. We're just going to end up getting sick. So I hope that these tips and tricks were useful to you, or will be useful to you. And I really appreciate everybody's comment, by the way. Thank you so much, because my channel is new, and your comments really give me a cue as to which direction to move towards. So I really appreciate it, especially those of you who are very supportive and positive. So I always appreciate those comments. And let me know if there's any other topics that you'd like to talk about. But I just wanted to do this very quickly because I noticed there's a lot of emotional turmoil. So I hope that this video was helpful to you. Take care of you guys, and I'll see you next time. Bye.